going to be outside during the summertime. We're going to talk about heat exhaustion and heat strokes. Does anybody know what that is? No, kind of, a little bit. Okay, so we have Mr. Marty McNair here. Okay, we got David over there back there taking the video. They're going to talk to you guys about heat stroke and heat exhaustion and a couple other things. Okay, so just listen up, be respectful, because I'll be watching all y'all. Okay, so don't embarrass me. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, so without further ado, Mr. Marty McNair. Okay.
All right. So everybody. Hey, first of all, I feel underdressed, right? Because if I knew everybody was going to be wearing blazers, I could have worn a suit jacket or something. So everybody, we gave everybody just now, I want you all to look at the wristbands that I just gave you. Just don't put it on because it does have some significant value to it. So as Perry just said, I'm Marty McNair. I'm the founder and the father of Jordan McNair. So has anybody ever heard of Jordan McNair? Knew who Jordan McNair was? Somebody who said yeah? Talk to me. Tell me one more time. I can't hear you. Okay, great. All right, no problem. So Jordan was my son. So basically, the last time I talked to Jordan was May 28th of 2018. And basically, school started, practice started. He was a University of Maryland football player. He was 19 years old. He was a sophomore at the University of Maryland. And basically, conditioning practice started May 29th. So basically, it was like, son, I know practice starts tomorrow. How you feeling? And Jordan just knew he was going to get to the NFL. So he was like, Dad, I feel really good, and I'm ready for practice, and I'll talk to you later in the week. So everything was pretty much okay, and then we got a call Tuesday evening basically saying, Mr. McNair, this is Officer so-and-so from the University of Maryland Campus Police Force, and it's been an incident on the field. So basically, I'm like, hey, what do you mean it's been an incident on the field? But he said, we're at this particular hospital. And okay, when we got to the hospital, they said Jordan had a seizure. So at this point, I'm like, wait a minute, here was a guy, Jordan was 6'5", he was 300 pounds, he wore a size 16 shoe, and basically he could have went to any school in the nation. We had offers from everybody. Let me tell you, when he was, how many of you, oh, show of hands, are juniors right now? Got it. So when Jordan was a junior, we had 500 pieces of mail the very first day of school from all these schools that wanted to recruit. It was literally so much mail that all of the mail couldn't even fit in the mailbox. So basically the mail lady came to the house with this big bag of mail. It was like, I don't know who your son is, but obviously he's somebody. So basically he was literally recruited by every school you possibly imagine for football. Alabama, Penn State, Maryland, you name it, Auburn. I mean, I could just go on and on, Notre Dame, on and on and on. He had boxes of offer letters under his bed that he had been offered. His first year as a freshman, Jordan literally was offered by Penn State, Ohio State, and University of Maryland. So we wound up landing at the University of Maryland at that time. But the interesting thing was, like I just mentioned, I just talked to Jordan May 28th, and I was saying, son, have a good day tomorrow at practice, call me later in the week. And then when we got the call, and then my next conversation on Tuesday, May 29th, 2018 was, son, if you can hear me, squeeze my finger. Son, if you can hear me, blink your eyes. Because at this time, I didn't know anything about a heat stroke, and I'm using the term heat stroke very, very loosely. Anybody know what a heat stroke is? Neither did I. I basically thought that you were in the sun too long, and all you had to do was get to some shade, drink a little bit of water, and that pretty much was it. All would be right with the world. Unfortunately, I didn't know that when your core body temperature goes above 104 degrees, that's the equivalent of your body being in a microwave oven, or your core body being in a microwave oven. So we put food in the microwave to do what? Talk to me. Somebody else said? Okay, and what else? We put food in the microwave oven to cook, correct? So you literally have a 20 to 30 minute window to cool that core body temperature down. So therefore, if you don't cool that core body temperature down in some type of ice bath or some type of tarp or something like that, all the information or all of the organs start to cook, and they're irreparable at that point. So what I mean by irreparable, we literally, Jordan woke up a healthy guy Tuesday morning, and Friday morning we had an emergency liver transplant with 85% of his liver being dead. Anybody know what the term necrosis means? Necrosis means something is dead. That's a medical term. But the doctor, the transplant doctor, emergency transplant doctor told us that particular Friday, he said, Mom and Dad, if we don't make a decision right now, Jordan will be dead within 6 hours. I'm sorry, 12 hours. So obviously we got this emergency liver transplant, and basically, again, I didn't know anything about a heat-related injury, right? I didn't know, I just told you what I knew. I thought if you were in the sun too long, and that was pretty much it, you cooled down. I didn't know any of these things, and one of the things as a father, I kept asking myself, if I don't know these things, what didn't I prepare him for, first of all? Because I always assumed that it was my fault. I immediately took full responsibility, like, what didn't I prepare Jordan for? See, because as a parent, all I wanted to know was 2 questions. I know none of you all would even know these questions, but anybody would take a guess what I asked the coaches while they were sitting at our kitchen table a couple days prior to him signing his letter for recruitment. I asked 2 questions. Can he get some playing time? And I asked another question around mental health and substance abuse support, because that just was the business that I was in. And a lot of times, us as parents, all we're really concerned about with you all sitting in the room is, can you play and why aren't you playing? See, I didn't know to ask anything about these safety questions. I didn't know to ask anything about emergency action plans in the event that my child gets hurt. What are you going to do? I just assumed this was a Big Ten collegiate university with all of the resources in the world, and this was the best place for him to be, and this was probably the best life, the best place for him to be, because as parents, we think about the 5th quarter. I'm not interested in the 4 quarters. And what I mean by that, and a lot of you all will never, hopefully you'll get to this if you have student athletes later in life, but you all think about sports. Our job as parents is to think about life after sports. When we choose a college, you go for colleges to think about life after college, what type of opportunities and everything you can get as a result of that. So as Jordan got this liver transplant, obviously it was so much damage done, because not to mention, I already told you that, if anybody's paying attention, what's the window of opportunity you have to cool a core body temperature down? 20 to 30 minutes. It took 1 hour and 46 minutes for him to get him to the ER that day with a core body temperature of 106 degrees. So that's how we went from a healthy kid Tuesday morning to 85% of his liver being dead with hours to live Friday. 1 hour and 43 minutes. Anybody know what emergency action plan is? No. Anybody know what the AED machine is? Somebody tell me what the AED machine is. So if any of you all right now fell down and had a heart attack, and Mr. Perry said, somebody go get the AED machine, would anybody know where to get it at? Not the adults. Where? His room. Okay, or what's your name? You a student? Senior? Junior? Thank you. Tell everybody else, Raphael, where they are. Where are they? Come here, Raphael. Come on up for a minute. Everybody know Raphael? Give Raphael a hand. Thanks. So tell everybody where the AED machines are.
In Bowers' room, or if not in the hallway, where the security guard stands.
Got it. Don't go far. I'm going to keep using you. But again, so has anybody, just imagine now, the AED machine is literally right there near the security guard. Has anybody ever looked at that? Yeah. How many times we walk past that? Every day, probably, right to the gym. But in the event of, that's where your safety equipment is, because one of the main things that after we had started, so Jordan passed on June the 13th, obviously there was so much damage done. Basically, he was on a ECMO machine, he was on a lung machine, he was on kidney dialysis, he was on every life support that you possibly could imagine. And when you're sick like that, even after the liver transplant, basically what they call, when you're in ICU, they have what they call the ICU shuffle. So basically what the ICU shuffle means, you can have a good shift, you can have a bad shift. But when you're sick like that, you can't have 2 bad shifts. So on June the 12th, and I was, being a father, I was totally optimistic that we could make it through this. I knew we weren't going to play football again, but I knew we could make it through this, right? And the interesting thing is, it was another kid, another student athlete that had had the same thing happen to him at Towson State University, a young man by the name of Gavin Class, and guess what? They had a cold water tub, they had the right equipment on the field that day. And they acted within this 20 to 30 minute window, right? What we say in this space, we say cool first, transport second. So what does that mean? In the event, and I'm going to talk about all the signs and symptoms of heat-related injuries, but you immediately put a person, once you know the signs or identify them, you immediately put a person in a cold water tub, right? Now, the interesting thing with Gavin's case, they put him in a cold water tub, and somebody else tell me what happened when the EMTs got there. What happened?
I heard.
Now listen to this. Hold on. Because I know you guys just met me, right? And you never seen me a day in your life, but this is your lives we're talking about. See, because the interesting thing, I don't want anybody to kind of like unsurely say an answer. I know unsurely may have been something I just made up. But when you say something, please speak up, because this is the thing. You may save somebody else's room in your life, somebody else in the room's life. So again, this is information that everybody has to have, or everybody should be getting. So what did somebody say over here? With Gavin, what happened to him? They took him out too quick. Somebody else tell me what happened. En route to the hospital. So if you take him out the tub too quick, what happened? Talk to me. Temperature shot right back up. So of course, that core body temperature shot right back up, and literally he was just as bad off as Jordan, if not worse. Unfortunately, I mean, it was just probably, you know, I don't know what the difference was. Obviously, it just wasn't his time at that time. So when Gavin and his family came in the hospital, and basically Gavin, here's a guy that had a liver transplant. He had a bout with cancer. He had over 100 surgeries, and he survived this. So when they came, him and his mom, Danielle, came to the hospital, basically it gave us a shot of hope, and I was like, wow, if he made it, I know Jordan can make it. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. God had a bigger plan, and obviously that's where our work began at. So Jordan passed on June 13th of 2018 from complications of a heat-related injury. And at that time, my grief as a father was so, I can't even put it in words. It was indescribable, but one of the things I noticed that I had to do in order for me really to go down a rabbit hole of despair of losing a child, because I wouldn't wish that one on anybody, we started the Jordan McNair Foundation. So one of the things that we started was because I kept asking myself, what did I miss? What didn't I prepare him for? What I didn't prepare him for was what I didn't know. But I did beat myself up about it. And one of the things that I didn't prepare Jordan for was I'd always told Jordan to stand up amongst his peers, always be a leader, never a follower, always fight for yourself. You're a football player. Guess what? Somebody's going to be mad all the time you taking your spot. The best ability in football or any type of sport is availability. Somebody's always going to be mad because you could possibly take their spot. And I always told him to stand up for himself, and I emphasized, always be a leader, never a follower. And he knew what my stance was on drugs and making good decisions and all these different types of things that would make him a better person in life. However, one thing that I never taught him, and I want everybody in this room to grab this today, if you feel uncomfortable, don't do it. If your body tells you to stop, stop. See, because what I always taught Jordan was to be a coachable kid. And coachable kids just do everything. Coachable kids are robots. See, because the coach said, run through that brick wall, what does a coachable kid do? Somebody tell me. Run through the brick wall. And we hear all these things about pain is just all this, what's the one, pain is just what, escaping the body? All these goofy scenarios that make no sense. But one of the main things I tell everybody in the room is always listen to your body. If your body tells you to stop, stop. Did the game of football stop because my son died? No. How many soccer players we got in here? Raise your hands. Anybody ever heard of a young man by the name of Matthew Mangine Jr.? Matt died about 2 years ago. He had a cardiac arrest on the soccer field, early during practice, and basically the AD machine wasn't where it was supposed to be at. Unfortunately, 12 minutes later, Matt had died. Matt Jr. had died. His family has an organization like this. We work together as well. But did the game of soccer stop? Heck no. How many basketball players we got in here? I can keep going on with another story. Amani Bell was a young lady in Georgia in 2019. They were outside conditioning, and she had a heat stroke. Temperatures were dangerous. Coaches kept having them running drills. She started showing signs and symptoms of a heat-related injury, and unfortunately, she pushed until she passed. Did the game of basketball stop? No. And I can just go on and on. Now, you name a sport, I can give you a student athlete that passed as a result of. Listen to your bodies, young people. Because if your body tells you to stop, stop. Guess what? You can always get another play. You can always get another snap. You might not can't get another life. So as Jordan passed and we started the Jordan McNair Foundation, and one of the main things that we focused on basically was telling everybody about listening to their bodies. And you see this cool sweatshirt I got on, and I'm gonna let David tell you what it means and what it's significant of. But these were the things that we really emphasized early on: student athlete self-advocacy. Then I realized, I thought basically like, okay, well, Jordan was on the field that day. He had a heat stroke. Any equipment wasn't on the field that day, right? And then I realized like, okay, it must be about cold water tubs. So as we started our fundraising campaigns with our golf tournaments and all these different types of things to raise money, I had this bright idea. We're going to donate cold water tubs, literally over 300 cold water tubs from Alaska to Florida. I didn't even know it got that warm in Alaska where you needed a tub, but this was what my mentality was. It was a very, very organic process, incremental organic process for us to get to the 5 years of the information that we have right now. See, because I thought it was just about cold water tubs, but kids kept dying. And then I'm looking at kids because we don't see it all the time. Unfortunately, what about the kid in West Texas? Or what about the kid in Arkansas? Or what about the kid in Louisiana? Or what about the kid in Southern California? I can go on and on and on with these type of tragedies happen consistently all over America. But we never hear about it because it's not in our immediate geographical area. So I thought it was about cold water tubs. Then I realized, well, what I talk. So I like to talk. Yeah, I got an auditorium full of kids or a gymnasium full of kids. But what's going to make anything I say stick once I leave? Then I realized, wait a minute, it's about legislation. Okay? So it's like, okay, we got to get laws passed. And we got our first law passed, the Jordan McNair Youth Safety Protection Act. That's in Baltimore City. I forgot to tell you, we're from Baltimore as well. That's in Baltimore City. Then we got the Jordan McNair Act. That's a college student athlete safety bill, right? Then we got the Jordan McNair Safe and Fair Play Act passed. That's the NIL bill. If some of you, I don't know if you all know about the NIL bill about college players getting paid, but our bill really focuses on player safety. Then we got House Bill 836 passed that went into effect last July the 1st. And out of all the bills that we got passed, the most important bill that we got passed, because one of the things that I consistently saw about student athletes passing was, what's the one common denominator? The emergency action plan. Either there wasn't one, or they had one and it wasn't practiced. Anybody see DeMar Hamlin go down Monday night? Anybody know what they were looking at? Tell me. I can't hear you. That he was breathing? Okay, he was breathing, but the interesting thing, did we notice how quick they got to Lamar Hamlin? Anybody pay attention to that? Because I guarantee you 85% of America had no idea what they were looking at. Because we just assume that it goes that way. It don't always go that way. I just gave you a list of names, and I can go on and on with names of student athletes that passed. What's the one common denominator in all these deaths? The emergency action plan, they didn't even have one or wasn't consistently followed or consistently practiced. That's the NFL. So the NFL has all these doctors and they have all these resources and they can meet for an hour and they're just kind of laying and waiting for these types of things. Unfortunately, in America, it's just not like that. We literally have 28,000 high schools across the nation. They fall into two categories. Those who have resources versus those who don't have resources. Anybody know what I mean by those who don't have resources? They don't have a Mr. Perry over here. Mr. Perry Bush, right?
Bowers, sorry.
Mr. Perry Bowers. Everybody don't have a Mr. Perry Bowers. A lot of schools don't have athletic trainers. See, a lot of schools made their football coach maybe doubling down as the school janitor or the school police officer. So they don't have the resources. So what does that mean? All of us need to be more educated to assist in the event of. Because I was talking to Mr. Jim today, and basically what he was saying was, it's probably about a 10-to-1 ratio of staff versus student athletes, or coaches versus student athletes. Anybody know what a 10-to-1 means? Ratio means? Talk to them. 10-to-1. 10-to-1, so it's 10 student athletes to one staff, to one coach. Yeah, correct. For every 10 student athletes, that's one. So guess what? That one coach can't see everything that you may be experiencing on the field. So therefore, I need you. Tell me your name one more time. Raphael. I need Raphael to know what's going on with me. Raphael needs me to know what's going on with him. So I can tell Coach, I can tell Mr. Perry, your athletic trainer, because every school across America don't have an athletic trainer. That's just the reality. So more of us need to be educated because, again, tell me your name, my man. Yondell? Yondo or Yondell? Yondell. So, this your friend right here? I'll take that as a yes. What sport y'all play? Baseball. So if he was acting out of sorts, would you be able to know because that's your man, right? Something like that. So would you tell somebody? Okay, cool. What would you say? Thank you. That's realistic. That's something's up with him. I don't know what it is, but he's off somewhere along the way. Can we agree on that? Tell me your name. You. Yes, ma'am. Brianna? And that's your friend next to you? And her name is? Vivian? What sport y'all play? Volleyball. Okay. Would you tell coach in the event of if something happened between either of you? Or just, you all know each other. And the point that I'm making, everybody, is we know our friends. Get to know your teammates because at the end of the day, you may be the one to save your teammate's life. Now, you may not have to get down and just give them mouth-to-mouth or CPR or something like that. However, a lot of times when you have a 10-to-1 ratio, meaning it's 10 of you all versus one coach, coach ain't gonna see everything. Mr. Perry ain't gonna be at every game. So a lot of times, you all are gonna save each other's lives. That's just the nature of sports in general. So please be mindful of this. So interesting thing about when you look at heat-related injuries. So when somebody tell me, I said basically when your core body temperature goes above 100 and what? 104 degrees. You have how much window to cool that core body temperature down? Got it. So let me tell you how this goes. When you have two types of heat-related injuries, you have heat exhaustion. So all of us are athletes, right? And this is the interesting thing. We emphasize hydration, right? I know a lot of us. How many of us want to be? Just show of hands, realistically. How many of y'all want to play professional sports? Okay, cool. All right. So can we put those hands up again? Just keep them up. That's about 20 people. All right. The percentages are like almost 1 point something percent. Now, the interesting thing is this. I tell everybody wherever I go, sports is a tool. If you don't use it for nothing else, use it for education. Because I'm sure a lot of you all are going to get to another level or the next level if you have any type of great sports ability, right? The interesting thing is when you look at sports and you look at it, hey, I'm a 5-star athlete. When you get to the collegiate level, everybody's a 5-star athlete. So again, you see how the numbers kind of start to wane. But if you go into college with a plan or use sports as a tool, you basically can come out of it as better, probably a lot better than you went into it. But the interesting thing that I'm saying is this. If you can't master mundane habits, right? And what I mean by mundane habits is this. How many of you all realistically can say you get a good 8 hours of sleep every night? 6 people's hands went up. Right? How many of you all can really say you have a realistic, healthy diet? 4 people's hands went up. 5 people, 6, 5.5. Looked like it might have been a half over here, right? Now, anybody know anything about cars by chance? Anybody know what a Ferrari looks like? Got it. Anybody know what a Lamborghini looks like? Or a Mercedes? Any of you all own a Mercedes or anything? Or Ferrari? Anybody? Have you ever driven one yet? Got it. Anybody know what a local gas station is? Got it. And I'm sure we've been on with our parents, they may have driven. Anybody ever notice there's 3 types of gas that you put in a car? So somebody tell me, come on. 93, right? Okay, cool. So do you come up, let me ask you this. So if you drive, tell me your name. Eddie? Addie? Alex. Got it. Alex, so if you're driving the BMW, do you pull up at the gas station, what do you put in? 87, 89, and 93. Why? No, hold up, no, it's not diesel, but we're going in the right direction. Say it again. Tell them a little louder. One more time. Tell me one more time. Come on, bro, tell me one more time. Premium. Now, this is the thing. We can't drive all these high-end vehicles or treat our bodies like high-end vehicles if we're putting 87 in our bodies. If we're not getting a proper night's sleep. If we're not eating a realistic diet. How many of you all like soda? Y'all young people, you like soda. I like chips. I like cookies. I'm going to be honest. I don't drink soda or nothing like that. But we still like our fair share of junk food. You all are athletes. You have to master mundane habits. And what I mean by that is a mundane habit is something that you get up and you do it so much that you don't even realize what it is you're doing. You just do it because you're in the habit of doing it. Guess what? I'm going to get 8 hours worth of sleep. Guess what? This is what, at 54 years old, I just got to the point where I have a timer on my phone. I got 4 hours, maybe 5, to do social media all day long. Some days it might, depending on my day, I might be done by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I don't get on social media for the rest of the day or until tomorrow. All my social media stuff comes on at 7 a.m. every morning. I try to wake up early at 5 o'clock in the morning. I try to do whatever my spiritual ritual is every morning. So therefore, by 7 o'clock, I've already accomplished quite a few things. See my point? Anybody see where I'm going at with this? In order to get the things that you want, you got to put some serious things, or put some serious habits in place. You got to study hard, right? You got to eat right. You got to hydrate. How many of you all realistically can say, conditioning starts when, today?
Baseball team did some conditioning yesterday.
Okay.
Practice starts today.
How many of you all can really say you're realistically ready for conditioning? Oh boy. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Now, guess what? Listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this. Because any coaches over here? All right. You believe any of them? Okay. Great. I don't believe you either. Guess what? Because you guys are kids. This is what you're supposed to say. Yeah, coach, I'm ready. My man, tell me your name. Rafa? Johnny O. How many hours you shoot? Johnny O? Johnny O? Johnny O. Okay. What did I say? Johnny O? Johnny. So Johnny O, how many hours of sleep did you get last night? Be honest. Come on, bro. Really? He's the one. Okay, somebody else. You. Tell me your name. Anthony? I'm sorry, I can't. I'm talking to you. Yes. Nate. All right, Nate. How many hours of sleep did you get? So what time did you go to bed? What time did you wake up? What time did you turn your phone off? What time did you turn your phone off? Like, what time did you get off social media last night? Where's your phone at when you sleep? Under your bed, right next to your bed. We all do that. We all do that. I do the same thing. Next to your bed. All right, cool. So you stop, what do you, FaceTime, Instagram, Snapchat, what? Huh? Tell me one more time. You on your group chat? Okay, all right, cool. So somebody else, tell me how many hours of sleep you, come on, Alex, come on, bro. I think we got something here. Tell me, what time did you go to bed? Okay, what time did you wake up? Okay, so what's that? 5.5? You got 5 hours of sleep, bro. 5. See my point? Okay, cool. That's the point that I'm making, so everybody can kind of see what I'm saying. But let me get back to mundane habits, right? So, how many of you all say thank you every time somebody does something for you? All right, cool. How many of y'all tie your shoes? Okay. How many of you all wash your hands every time, except you? How many times everybody when you go to the bathroom, you wash your hands? When you get in the car, you put your seatbelt on. All right, so, okay, bring it back. Somebody tell me why.
It's a habit.
Tell me.
It's a habit.
Tell me, what's your name?
Ariana.
Ariana? Yell it for me.
It's a habit.
It's a habit. See what mundane habits look like? Some schools I go to, I got to go all the way around Robert. 5 people are answering. Oh, it's what my mom told me. It's what my parents taught me. Oh, we do this, we do that. No, they are habits. Habits that we don't even think about. See my point? So when we get in the habits of saying, guess what, I'm going to get a proper amount of rest. I'm going to go ahead and eat right. And I can understand, y'all teenagers, so you ain't going to eat right 100% of the time. But try to eat right. Think about that gas scenario that I gave you. You can't put 87 into a BMW. You can't put 87 into a Ferrari. If you put 87 into a Ferrari, it will cost you way more money to get that problem fixed than it did to fix it in the first place. Now, I don't really know what type of gas you put in a Ferrari, but again, I'm sure it's higher than some type of 93 or premium gas, maybe ultra premium. But the point is, you have to treat your bodies as if they are these type of machines. Especially these hands that raise, that when talking about I want to go to the next level, that's the only way you have to do it. You have to do it that way. You are not going to get to the next level by just kind of just, oh, well, hey, I'm doing this. I'm just kind of, fuzzing along, and I'm just and I'm not getting proper rest, and I'm not being a good student, and I'm not going to do this. And I'm just like, okay, I'm just smart. I'm going to get here on my looks, or all these different things. It just don't work like that, everybody. So be mindful. When it comes to mundane habits, just try to get a proper amount of rest, right? Try to eat right. Always hydrate when you're playing sports. Everybody that raised their hand saying that they were ready, your coaches already know you ain't ready. And the interesting thing about that, it's not that we can't get you ready, but the thing is, be mindful that you ain't got to please coaching them all the time. If your body knows you're not ready, listen to your body. If your body tells you to stop, guess what? Coaching them know what you can put out. Prime example, the one gentleman that raised his hand and said he digging it out, coach you do that. Johnny O. But yeah, it was him. So again, coach knows that. So if you're having a bad day, you can come up and say, coach, you know what? I'm out of it today, or whatever the case may be. But again, we'll get into that a little bit more. But again, keep this in mind. When you look at heat-related type injuries, everybody, be mindful. Heat exhaustion, heat stroke. A lot of times heat stroke just doesn't happen. It starts at heat exhaustion. And the telltale signs of heat exhaustion are if you're having cramps, that's the first indicator. If you feel nauseous or nauseated, second indicator. If you feel lightheaded, third indicator. Let somebody know. Especially, don't try to play through that type of stuff because your body is telling you something. Your body is telling you to stop. So what should you do? Stop. The game ain't going to stop as a result of one of you all getting hurt or worse. The game did not stop out of my son. Guess what? All they did when Jordan passed was the next game that following season, they waved all types of flags in honor of him, and all they did was take his jersey out there in memory of the very first snap where they honored him, but the game of football continuously went on. Rest assured, if you're treating your body like a business, I guarantee you will be much, much more successful. Everybody got that? Got it. So I'm just going to recap before we go into another section. I'm going to let David come up and talk about our Kobe campaign. So, in the event your core body temperatures reaches what? 104. What's the window of time to cool it down? What are the indicators? Somebody tell me the indicators. Me and you talk, girl. Tell me your name. I didn't catch your name. No, right behind you. Yes, ma'am.
Sierra.
Sierra. What's the indicator?
Headache, nausea, and cramps.
Cramps. Those are indicators of something is going on with your body. And guess what? Even when you can be an elite athlete in the best shape of your life, it can always happen because we can always push ourselves too far. Start hydrating 48 hours prior. Drink plenty of water. How many of you all say you drink water? Okay. Woo, boy. Okay. Everybody drink water. Consistently. Got it. Keep drinking the water. All right. Now, any questions before I turn it over? Any questions before I turn it over? So you all can safely walk away from this today saying you know information about a heat-related injury. You comfortable? I'm talking to you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. You comfortable with the information? All right, cool. Everybody else comfortable? Anybody not comfortable? Okay, great. All right. So look, everybody give yourself a round of applause. So let me ask you this. So you all wear blazers during the summer, during the springtime as well? So do you switch over to shorts? No. Hey look, can we get a group picture to after the fact? Because I just I just feel like you guys are really on point. I don't know if it's the buttons and the blazers or everything. I feel like I'm at Hogwarts or something. So, right. This should be a good one. So everybody, at this time, I'm going to introduce you to David Johnson. He's our Community Engagement Manager for the Jordan McNair Foundation. And David's been with us for like 2 years, and really the Kobe initiative is David's and another staff member of ours. So really give him a round of applause, everybody. And